question. I think we still have 5 minutes.
Okay, anybody has questions?
So you said there's three entities that we need to deal with, and one of them is the ego. Okay, so the worst means the ego, right?
The worst.
The worst. Is it?
I don't like to look at things as bad or good. I like to, these are all things that Allah put in us, but it's all to experience life. But it's when the nafs, the ego is bruised when you're like always trying to serve yourself and your own, desires. So if that's the main thing, if that's overruling other things, then it becomes bad. Then it becomes something that can be destructive in your life. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So if it's the only problem, if it's blocking everything, like if I can't do anything, but it's always controlling, always, So is it killing it or doing something to just weaken would be solved? Well,
You mean, is it weakening this? Is it
yes,
ruining the soul in me?
No, the ego. If I can break this block, would it be possible to just see the girl or who I am really am?
You're saying that if you start to block this ego,
Yes. Yes.
to ruin it or to
Yes.
destroy, you're saying destroy it, would you be able to arrive at the fitra?
Yes.
Right? So, in a sense, when you start to address the negative, like we call them, let's say the ailments of the heart, the spiritual ailments of the heart, right? Say jealousy or anger, all these things, these negative things that can consume which is the ego, right? The more you start to break those, the more, it's like in Ramadan, right? When you put down your physical self, you start to recognize your spiritual self, right? When you start to deprive one area of yourself, because in Ramadan, what are you depriving? You're depriving your physical self, right? But you're also supposed to be working on depriving your ego, right? Because those things might break your fast, so you try not to get angry. So what happens in Ramadan? Then your spiritual self is like, okay, I think I can come to the front now, because I always think of them as like on the front lines of war, of a battle, when one has arms, then the other one goes back. So when those two start to step back, to be like, oh, well, somebody has to leave, right? So the spiritual heart starts to go.
Is it the soul or the mind or the heart? Where it is best?
This is okay, so as far as where or like how, these are things that I always say is ilm al-ghaib, right? We can understand what things are. Like for example, we know Jannah, right? And we know what they are, but how am I going to be served by, I don't know, how is the nahr, or when you think of the how, or the sirat, we know that it's a sirat, right? How is it going to look? When we get into the how, we can never really, that's what I was taught, is that I can understand what they are and that these entities exist, but as far as where they're located or how, I know that the ego, just like the soul, it's not something you can't touch, right? You can't, but it's more like it's an entity that's part of you. It's something that's there. It's something that is affected by the mind. It's something that, what fuels, the mind fuels all of these entities, right? What you absorb, the information, all the things that they influence your spiritual heart, because that's how you acquire information, right? That's how you learn. And so, as far as where I know where the mind is at, right? We all know that. Physical self, the physical entities, but I don't have an answer to where the ego is. I'm so sorry. I don't know, maybe Sheikh Hassan, do you have an answer to that? Please, if you do, if you know it. I hope I answered. Yes. Right. by it feeling foreign, right? Because it's almost like, I know that culturally it's not a very promoted concept, especially I know in Arab culture, right? I mean, I can't speak for other cultures, but I know that in Arab culture, it does feel foreign. So like, you almost, I know that for me, self-love had a, like I have a fear of like, okay, I'm gonna be arrogant now, or I'm gonna be conceited, you know? I always bring it back to loving for the sake of Allah. Just like we're taught to love anything, right? For the sake of Allah, you want to love it in a way that serves the way that Allah wants you to love it, right? Which is, it's almost like a sense of gratitude, and you embrace that part of yourself. You know, when you love something, right? You want to take care of it, right? You're grateful for it. You want to show it compassion. That's why I talked a lot about compassion, because that comes from love, right? Allah loves us, so what does He do? He shows us mercy, He shows us compassion. So it's steps, you know, it's being kind to ourselves, because I am a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when we talk about love, and I'm glad you asked this, it's important to understand love in relation to the one, the creator of love, right? It's important to understand love in you know, loving for the sake of Allah is the ultimate love, right? And so if you are loving yourself, for your ego, then that's how it can lead to conceit, right? Because that love is serving the ego. So when you love to serve the ego, right, you're gonna say, or you're gonna do the things that heighten the ego, which is greatness, arrogance, conceit. But when you love to serve the spiritual heart, right, then you're doing things that are serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a different mindset, it's a different shift, you know. Love isn't in the context of what we know of, you know, lovey-dovey, you know, this, I am, you know, like for example, when they teach sometimes loving yourself, you know, I know that one of the movements in California of self-esteem is they teach younger kids to, and it actually didn't work, and they studied it for years, which is to teach them to say things like, I am great, I have these attributes that are better than everyone else. No, it's to say that I am a creation of Allah, Allah has honored me, Allah loves me. And so, you know, to start showing yourself compassion and kindness and appreciation for who you are as an individual, these are all entities of love. I mean, how often do we say, you know, you do something that's great, and you say, Alhamdulillah, for this quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me, and oh Allah, I appreciate this quality that you have given me. How often do we do that? That's love, right? But we're like, oh, that's, you know, we minimize it so much, like in our, especially I know culturally this is a promoted thing where in order for us to appear humble, it's good to minimize. Someone compliments you, you say, oh no, you should see my, you know, you should see my, how I look this morning, you know? Like, why do we do that, right? That's a false sense of self that we put. You're negating something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And, you know, it's interesting because they tell you that when someone, one of my supervisors said this to me, I was talking to her about a client, and she was saying, you know, when someone compliments another person and that person says no, you're almost negating, you're saying that what you're saying is not truthful, right? I never looked at it that way. So like say someone says to me, oh, I like your scarf, and I say, oh, it's not good. I'm almost like minimizing what they're saying, almost like dismissing something that she said that came out of kindness and love. We do that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gave us so much, and we say, oh, it's nothing. You know, that's not humbleness. We need to differentiate between humbleness and loving ourselves and appreciating who we are. And you know, and for it to be a truthful way that doesn't make us feel uncomfortable, we have to do it for Allah. We have to bring it back to Allah. Things do feel uncomfortable and foreign when we start to serve our ego, and when we do love for our nafs. But we should love for our spiritual heart to serve Allah. I mean, it's a huge topic, and inshallah I hope to maybe discuss it further another time. But I mean, I hope I gave a little bit